Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today we're making a D&D Druid Soap. This Druid Soap is made with sage. It's got a lot of green in it, some blue for sky, and I made it to kind of look like what are they called? Stonehenge. Made it to kind of look like the Stonehenge things, and it actually turns out pretty good, I think. I know that you guys kind of saw me, I popped up a little message. The yellow is actually for an embed of a different D&D inspired soap, but I'm not going to show that soap in this video. It's just an embed that I'm going to end up making, and it is actually going to make a mess because I decided to use a paper towel holder, like a paper towel roll, like, you know, the cardboard on the inside, and it ended up like not being sealed properly at the bottom, so I did lose quite a bit of soap out of the bottom of it. And when I say lose, I mean like I wasn't able to like use it in the soap, but it's still soap and it's still usable. So it probably ended up getting given to my dad because he does like to have all of the little bits and bobs that I don't actually use in my soaps. And I did try to record me making the embed for this particular soap, but it didn't turn out. So I was like, well, it's all right. Not a big deal. Here's my yellow. It's a really pretty yellow. Turns out well. The soap itself turns out well. But again, I'm gonna try to get it really thick. It wasn't quite yellow enough for me. I wanted it brighter, much brighter. This particular soap, I like the way it smells. That one I made I think it's orange patchouli. Smells amazing. I do hit it with a stick blender so that I can thicken it up, so that it will be thicker in the mold and be less likely to come out of the bottom. But I don't think that mattered. This soap still comes out of the bottom and makes quite a bit of a mess. But this is making it a lot thicker. So just imagine, had I not thickened it up, what it would have done. I don't know what I would have to do different to like keep it from falling out of the bottom. I haven't figured it out yet, how to keep it from falling out of the bottom. Maybe I'll add some like bits of soap that's already, you know, set up to the bottom of it. That way it can't come out. I don't know how I'll do it different, but I'll have to figure it out. I try to get it pretty thick. Like thick enough to where it would pour, but not so thick that it wouldn't, you know, work properly. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but it does just, it's nice and full right now. It doesn't stay full. It just comes right out of that bottom. And I keep having to add to it at the very beginning, and I'm like, what's going on? Why do I have to add more to it? Why is it not staying full? Oh, it's coming out of the bottom. I don't know why I didn't think to like resolve it early on. I don't know. It didn't stay. It made a mess. This is probably me fixing the mess. But anyway, druids. Oh, druids are, you know, they can a lot of times turn into things. They're very earthbound. To me, they're just like characters that are going to be more in touch with earth and down to earth and things like that. So I think that's why I went with the scent that I went with. I went with the sage. The sage smells amazing. Very earthy, very green smelling. And then the colors, like I said, that I went with are going to be the green's going to make it grass, and the blue for sky. I put the yellow in with the green to lighten it up a little bit and keep it from being very in your face, just like deep foresty green, because I was more going for like a grass green, not like, tree leaves. I guess they're all kind of the same greenish kind of color, but I was trying to go for something lighter, which is why I ended up adding the yellow to it. I knew I'd have a little bit of yellow left over, so that's why I went with pouring it into the green. But once we get these two mixed up, you'll see the embeds for this. The embeds, when I made it in my slab mold, and I just poured a thin-ish layer onto the bottom of the mold, and then I cut the mold longwise, so that way I would have the I can't think of what they're called now, like stone, things to stack up on each other. My husband kind of helped me come up with the Stonehenge kind of idea for it. And I was like, yeah, I think I can totally do that. That's doable. Sure. So I did my best to make it look kind of like Stonehenge. Some of the bars toward the end, you can kind of see that the top bar didn't really connect because one of the side bars kind of pushed itself over. So I'll have to figure out a way to make it not do that next time. But here you're getting ready to see my embeds. I'm so excited about them. And they're basically just going to be, walls, and they'll stack up on each other. I tried to connect the pieces when they were like fresh, but didn't really connect well. So I just added my fragrance in, and I was checking to see if this particular fragrance was going to accelerate because I hadn't used it before this. So I was like, oh, is it warming up? Is it gonna be hot? And I was actually not worried about it accelerating because I think that would have helped it to stand up better in the batter, because I wanted it to be a little bit set up so that when I put the embeds in, it would stand up better. I feel like I said stand up better a lot, but that's what I was hoping for. That's why I was kind of wanting to get it a little bit thicker, but I also wasn't sure how this fragrance was going to act, so I just went ahead and didn't make it so thick. That way, if it was too thick, I could it needed to be pourable. I had something in my hair. Did y'all see that? You weren't even paying attention. I was paying attention. It's okay. So there is one of my stone bottom. I don't know what you call it. A wall, maybe? That one came apart. It's okay. There's the other bit. And like I said, you'll be able to see that it doesn't end up being the same on top. Like when I put my top piece in, it kind of just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Now, I left that in there so that it would kind of thicken up and hold those walls in place so that when I poured this on and added the last part of the embed, it would set up it would, hold it better. And this blue is lovely. I love it for sky, and all I do is I use my blue mica powder, and I don't remember which one I used, and it's over there. I think it's the Fabulous Blue or something. I can't remember, but I love it. It's one of my faves. And I just add some titanium dioxide to it, and it lightens it up to this beautiful sky blue, like, your drawn picturesque sky blue. It's gorgeous. And I've used this color a couple times, and it always turns out great as a sky color. And again, I'm trying to get it a little bit thick, so I did realize that the fragrance doesn't make it move too quickly, so I wasn't that worried about getting it to a thicker trace and cleaning it off. I always feel like I clean these things off very slowly. I don't know why. Maybe because I want to make sure I get as much of the soap off as possible, so I don't lose any of it. And I don't know. I do it slow for some reason. I think it's all just I like to make sure it's clean. As clean as I can get it with my spatula. Thought I got it to a nice, thick, good enough trace. I just mix it up a little bit because I did have a little bit of that green on my spatula, so I just wanted to mix it all in so that it didn't kind of show out. Testing it to see how like thick it is, how much setup it is without actually touching the batter. And then we'll add the rest of that fragrance. Then I'll get it poured into the mold a little bit, just enough so that I can set that other part on top, and then I'll cover the whole thing. I'll finish it off with the blue on top, and then I'll do a nice little blue and green swirl on the very top. So I'm just stirring all of that fragrance in, trying to get it well mixed. And then, like I said, I'm just gonna add a little bit so that it's almost covered, so that I can add that other embed in. Trying to tap out all those air bubbles that might have come in there. And now, here's my top piece. And I did notice that at that other end, it was not going to sit right. I was like, how did I not cut this thing wide enough? I don't know. It turns out okay. I mean, you can tell that it doesn't touch, but it's all right. It's still soap. It's not going to be too bad. So I try to get that in there as perfect as I can. And then I tried to move that bottom piece over so that it could at least be touching, but at the end it didn't really matter. Scraping out my container so that I can get all of that soap out. And I tell you what, this sage smell for this bar, I loved it. I still love it. It's a really good smell. It's not one of the ones that I love as far as fragrance goes that I would use for like everything, but I do enjoy this fragrance a lot. It's really a good fragrance that I think turns out very well when it comes to soap. I actually made a green soap for a wedding recently, and I used sage and I think a little bit of rosemary, and it's a beautiful smell. And I just made it, a small batch for them, and they loved it, and they're like, we need some more of this. I'm like, I've got some more. And so I need to get that to her while I'm thinking about it. I thought I put a little bit of green on top of this. I know I did. I don't know why I'm adding swirls in it right now. I think probably I'm going to look over and be like, I got a little bit of green left and add it to the top, because it most definitely doesn't stay blue. I know what happens. Okay. So that yellow that I had made, remember that? Remember that yellow back at the beginning? That there wasn't really, it was like overflowing and falling out of the mold. Well, I ended up scooping that out of the bottom and adding a little bit of green to it, and ended up with a little bit of green to throw on top of this soap. Because I didn't, like, so you could tell, like, this green is a much brighter green, like a whole lot brighter than the green inside the soap. I was like, wait a minute, I know I put green on this soap. Where's my green? That was going to kill me. But yeah, that's what I did. I ended up having to fix that craziness of an embed. And when I did, I ended up with a little bit of yellow soap that it just wasn't going to go into the embed. So I said, well, I can make it green and throw it on top of my soap to make the top of my soap a touch more interesting. Not that ghost swirls aren't beautiful, because they are. They definitely can be gorgeous, but I have very few that have ghost swirls on top. Like, most of mine have some sort of a swirl with 2 colors or more. Unless I want the top to be like flat or something like that, I normally have multiple colors on top of my soap. I just think they're pretty, so it's fun for me to do it like that. I always try to figure out, like, oh, what's the best way to, like, swirl this and make this work. And I think a lot of overthinking when it comes to swirls on the top of my bar. And then I think I always overdo it. Not the thinking, but the swirls. Like, I probably could have stopped before I did all this. And stop. I just keep messing with it, because I'm like, well, what if I squiggle? Why does this side have so much more blue than that side? Oh, what if I do, like, I do a lot of, like, overthinking when it comes to the swirls on top of these things. And I don't need to. I should just do a swirl, walk away. I find myself not being able to do that sometimes. Now, we're gonna let it sit overnight in the oven. Look at that top. It's gorgeous. It's so pretty. That's the green that doesn't match the bottom, because I made it out of the rest of the yellow that was overflowing. You can't really see the pattern because my embeds didn't really, like, solidly touch both sides, which is fine. So I end up having to slice off a little bit of each side, which, again, not a huge deal, but I end up with 8 of these instead of my normal 9, I think. Nope. Looks like it's going to be 9. But I still sliced off a bit. And the inside. Dun, da, da, da. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It turned out so nice. And I added a little bit of blue, I think, to the to that gray. I'd added a little bit of blue so that it gave it more of a bluish gray, and then you can see where it's starting to fall off, kind of looking more like the current Stonehenge. So I had like 3 that they looked like they were just gonna fall off of there, and I will have to clean up the back of that a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, follow for more, and leave a comment down below. Bye.